Kia ora, Legionnaires, Rycon here with a very different video today. Today I'm going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Skyrim. I'm wearing an apron because I'm going to be baking, creating a few different meals out of this fantastic book here. I've had it for a very, very long time. It is the Elder Scrolls official cookbook. So I have picked out, first of all, an alcoholic beverage, the Waters of Life. There are some nice handmade pies in there. There are some baked potatoes for like a little bit of an appetizer. And then finally, there are sweet rolls for dessert. Word of warning, don't follow these recipes to the T. I am following them from the book, but I will mess things up. So do not take this as the word of God because it's gonna go probably quite bad. But who knows, it could be adequate. That's what I'm shooting for today. But before we do that, I received something interesting in the mail the other day. Something unexpected from Bethesda. So thank you to Bethesda for sending this rather large box. This box in question. This great big thing here. The 10th anniversary edition of Skyrim, a celebration of it. Had no idea what was in here at first, so we're gonna go and have a bit of a look inside to see what is actually in here. So awkward as can be, let's see. So, we have what looks to be a decorative skateboard underneath of here, a cool 10th edition flask. There we go. A 10th edition t-shirt. I won't be getting unchanged now. Constellation on the back there. Back into the box, we have got what looks to be nice trim little notebook here. And I think in the main event, underneath all of this, is, yeah, it's a skateboard. Decorative skateboard, which I don't have any of these, but this is gonna find a place on my wall somewhere. So thank you, Bethesda, for sending me this very cool looking thing. I'm not gonna ride it. I'm not gonna put holes in this thing. We're just gonna find a nice place for it on the wall. And yeah, we're gonna clean this bench top here and we're gonna get cooking. And while putting the box away, we did actually find one small other little thing in here, just a little card that reads, "We've been looking for you. Got something we're supposed to deliver, your hands only." This year marks Skyrim's 10th anniversary. To celebrate and to thank you for being such a wonderful member of the Elder Scrolls community. We wanted to send you this care package. We hope you enjoy and have fun celebrating 10 years of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thank you again, and Fustro Da, your friends at Bethesda. Cheers, Beth. Let's get cooking. So, starting off today, we're going to be making our alcoholic beverage, so-called the Water of Life. Don't be fooled, there is zero water in this recipe. It's incredibly alcoholic, so be careful. Considered something of a cure-all by many Nords, this potent beverage is reputed to bring the ill back up to full health. Everyone seems to have their own family recipe, but I managed to wheedle this one out of a farmer in Falkreath. The recipe calls for fennel seeds, 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds, 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds, 1 tablespoon of juniper berries, and a sprig of fresh dill. There's a little bit less of these things here at the moment, as I'm doing half of the recipe. The main component of this, though, is vodka, and it does call for 4 cups. Today, we are going to do 2 cups instead. So the first thing we're gonna do is have our trusty little measuring jug here, and we're gonna take pretty much everything and drop it on into that there. Oh God, the juniper berries have gone everywhere. I've already messed this up, wonderful. So I'm gonna try and pick some of those up, the ones that didn't go on the floor, because I already put more of them in here to begin with, and we're gonna grab the rest of our seeds, and we're just gonna, we're just gonna put them into our jug here, because that's gonna make it easier for us to pour it into our next device. And I'm gonna go ahead and just grab these juniper berries. 1 second. So we're just gonna take the juniper berries from the packet because that's just gonna be a little bit safer and more sanitary. That's way too many juniper berries, but it's fine. It's fine, it's already going totally okay. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and chuck in our vodka. We're going with Absolute Vodka today. So we're gonna go ahead and just, we're gonna add a little bit of vodka. Just a little bit more. I think that's about right. On the dot. Precision there. So we have our mixture. We still need to put in our fennel, which we will. We'll get to that. Look at that, I missed a juniper berry. There we go, wonderful. So let's go ahead, take our vessel in which this is going to sit. Ideally for 3 days. We'll see if that works out. I'm gonna try it today, but then I'll try it 3 days later as well. We'll see which is better. It's got to steep for a while. So yeah, next we get our vessel here. We're gonna take our fresh dill, the fresh dill that's already wilted, and we're just gonna go ahead and, you know, guide that ever so gently into our receptacle. Like so. Amazing. Get in there. Go. Just a little bit more. There we go. The dill is in. We sealed the dill. Right, next up, we're gonna take our jug of vodka and berries, and we're just gonna carefully try to decant that into here. And I'm realizing now that maybe the berries won't wanna do that. So we're just gonna try and go a little bit slower. Slow and steady. There we go. Look at that, it's actually working. Amazing, the berries are jamming. Here we go. There's a whole heap of stuff left at the bottom of this, which we're just gonna go ahead and shake up and hope to dear God that it does actually decant okay. We're gonna go for a little bit more speed, confidence. And there it is, all stuck at the bottom of the jug, which is precisely what I thought was gonna happen. So, one moment. Right, so we are going to seal this sucker. We're just going to give it a little bit of a shake around here. And there we go. We have our waters of life. So we're just going to put that to the side here. First thing done, jug of vodka. We've got that to wash down everything that is yet to follow. We're going to be jumping into our sweet rolls next, the preparation of them, as they're going to take a little bit longer. They need to prove for a little bit before we bake them. I'm not a baker. I cook things, so this is going to go well. We're going to be jumping into the various stages of making this throughout. You're along for the journey here. This is how we're going to try and prepare it for the day and how you might prepare it in your own kitchen. Yet again, don't follow it word for word because it's going to be disastrous. So, looking at sweet rolls here. Don't let anyone steal your sweet roll ever again. Instead, guarding your hard-won baked goods against bandits and that pesky thieves guild. Now you can bake them in the quiet safety of your own home with no one the wiser. Until, like, fire alarms go off and all the rest. So, we are preheating the oven in the background to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, also known as 180 degrees Celsius in proper temperature. In a large bowl, this one here, we are going to be combining butter, warm milk, and honey, stirring until the honey has dissolved. So we're going to get started on that there. Right, so first of all, we have our butter here, our melted butter. We are looking at, let's see, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. So there we go. That's most of it. I should be doing this ASMR. I'm missing out on a lot there. Okay, next up, we're gonna go ahead and grab the warm milk, which I prepared earlier. We have a cup of warm milk, correct? Yes, okay, here we go. A cup of warm milk. There we go. Milk fear. Next up, 2 tablespoons of honey. Luckily in New Zealand we have Manuka honey coming up the wazoo. So 1 tablespoon of honey. Any day now. There it goes. Wow. And so we're to do this until it melts. So you know what? We're just gonna get rid of that into the bowl. Wonderful. Professional. Amazing. And 1 more tablespoon of honey. Here we go. Just like this as everyone else here dies. And there we go. The second and last tablespoon, thankfully, into the bowl. We're gonna go ahead, do away with that for now. And one moment. So now we are to stir until the honey is dissolved. So we got the honey back down the bottom there, we're just going to go ahead, just start giving this a little bit of a light stir, trying of course to show you what's going on and not pour the mixture out all over the bench. That is the challenge of this task here. So at this stage, the honey has melted into the mixture with everything else that's in there. We're now going to go ahead and grab 2 tablespoons of dry active yeast. We're going to crack an egg in here, and then we're going to chuck in some flour. We're going to get mixing, and it's all going to go well. There's not going to be a single problem with any part of this process whatsoever.
Little did I know just how wrong I was.
So first of all, we're going to start off with the yeast. I'm going to very carefully measure the correct amount into here. I probably shouldn't be doing this over the bowl, but live life on the edge. Live, laugh, edge. Anyway, 2nd tablespoon of dry active yeast. I'm going to go ahead and drop that on in there. And then we're going to crack an egg. Any old egg will do. Actually, no, use a chicken egg. I'm imagining it's talking about a chicken egg, not an ostrich. Roosters don't have eggs. Anyway, we're going to crack that in here. That's our egg. And now, last but not least, we have, let's see, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Many purposes in this flour. You can use this for everything. Explosives, sweet rolls, many purposes. So with that, we are going to go ahead and start to mix those dry and wet ingredients together. And as I said before, as I predicted, there shall be no problems whatsoever as I attempt to mix this into something that will be consumable human food. As you can see, it is now taking the form of some kind of batter. There are still a few lumps of yeast throughout here. That's not going to come back to haunt us in any way whatsoever. I am, to my best ability, trying to spread this out. It, at the moment, looks something akin to pancake batter that has whole grain mustard mixed through it, which is not an appetizing sentence. So, it's as I'm mixing this together that I'm realizing I've made an awful mistake. Many of you who are watching this at home have probably already realized what mistake I made. The amateur baking mistake. When I was looking at the recipe very, very quickly, and I decided that yes, 2 tablespoons of yeast sounds like the right amount to add to something. It wasn't. It was teaspoons that I was meant to be adding, and I'm pretty sure I said teaspoons, yet I grabbed...
Tablespoons, you said tablespoons! I thought so, honestly.
The good thing is though, we of course have restoration magic at our, well, at our disposal. So that's what I'm going to do here. We need transmutation of some kind to fix whatever this is, so we're going to fix it. Right, so with the powers of restorative magic, we now have ourselves our batter with the correct amount of yeast in. Fantastic, that's exactly what we need. So now we need to separate these into small little muffin tray-like shapes. It calls for 4, we're gonna do 6. We're gonna do them slightly smaller and put them in the oven for less time and hope that they just, don't burn to a crisp. It'll be fine, it'll be fine. So we're gonna grab our tray here. We've got 6 of these pre-greased and yeah, we're gonna get filling. So it should be noted that this does actually call for a bundt pan. We don't have a bundt pan, so we're doing the best we can with what we've got. So we're not gonna have the traditional hole in the center. So we're just gonna keep a close eye on it. And really, once it's done, it's done. If a toothpick comes out clean, you're good. If it's burnt on the top to, oblivion, it's too far done, too far done. So we have our sweet rolls ready to go. They defy gravity, so let's hope they defy our taste buds. Yeah, so we're gonna leave these to rest for around about half an hour. They should rise just fine. We're gonna leave them there. I'm gonna keep my eye on them. It's gonna be fine. They're not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna come back to this recipe in a little bit. We're gonna be making the frosting, but first of all, we are going to make appetizers, or at least we're gonna start the process. We're gonna be making double baked potatoes. Not just once, twice, never thrice. Let's get some tates. This is going to be our appetizer, and yet again, there are a number of parts to this one as well. This is the double baked potato. The humble potato is one of Skyrim's staple ingredients found growing on every farm. Like many fruits and vegetables, potatoes store surprisingly well in barrels. While considered more practical than valuable and not good for much more than eating, This recipe makes them taste like they're worth their weight in septums. I mean, I don't know what else you would want to use a potato for, or food in general. You usually use it for eating and not for many other purposes than that. So potato, you're fine in my book. So we are starting off with these 2 potatoes here. The prep on them is pretty simple. It does call for butter to be used on the outside of it. There's a lot of butter in this recipe to begin with. So all we're gonna do is just take a little bit of olive oil and we are going to drizzle just ever so slightly just on the top of each of them. And I'm gonna be messy. And in the interest of good ASMR, make sure you pat those potatoes.
Somebody's listening to this.
Yes, they are. Somebody is listening to this. And so after that, we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna jab in a few little spots with our fork, and I'm going to not stab myself in the process, which, you know, with hands that are now incredibly oily, does raise the difficulty of this task, but I'm sure it's gonna go fine. That's 1 potato done. Hold your breath. There we go. 1 more to go. Wow, that one went in a little... You gotta be, this is Skyrim cooking. There we go, our potatoes are prepped, they're ready. We are gonna be chucking them into a 400 degrees Celsius, no, Fahrenheit, 400 degrees Celsius, you're gonna have a problem. 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is effectively 200, thank you oven, 204 degrees Celsius. So we are gonna be dropping them in there for, let's make sure we get this right this time. So these babies are gonna be going into the oven for a full hour. So it's good that we get them in now, as the whole prep time for this is around about 2 hours in general. After they have been in there for an hour, we're going to take them out, we're gonna slice them in half, we're gonna scoop out their insides, Skyrim style, and we're gonna do something else with that potato, but we're gonna get to that later. So this is the step done for now. Potatoes are going in the oven. Right, so the potatoes are in the oven. The sweet rolls, hopefully these very sweet rolls, are currently proving they are rising as we speak, and as that happens we're going to start to prepare our main for the evening, which is the festival hand pies in here. These savory little hand pies are easily transported and eaten on the go, making them a common snack at festivals and other social gatherings throughout Skyrim. They are especially popular at the Fire Festival at the Bard's College in Solitude. I wonder if that goes down anything like the Fire Festival in real life. With a flaky crust and rich filling, it's an easy, well, it's a challenge apparently to just eat 1 of them. Wash it down with a little of Sans spiced wine, another local favorite. So we aren't gonna be doing this with the spiced wine. We of course are gonna be doing it with the horrific vodka drink that we made earlier on, which I'm sure is gonna pair nicely. I think we're gonna need a lot of it after this, and there is a little bit of prep work that we need to do before we can even start the hand pie itself. We're gonna be flipping over to page 25 to make ourselves some Storm Cloak seasoning. Right, so our Storm Cloak seasoning. This is one of the most popular seasoning mixes across the breadth of Skyrim, where nearly every garden boasts a little corner dedicated to growing most of these ingredients. The grains of paradise are imported, and if the cost is too high, ordinary black pepper can be substituted. It makes for a mixture that goes well with vegetables, fish, meat, and savory baking, which is what we're doing today, and we are certainly substituting out those grains of paradise. In here, in this little mortar and pestle we have here, pestle, mortar and pestle that we have here, we're going to do a little bit of alchemy and grind up these spices. It calls for dried dill. We don't have dried dill. We've got fresh limp dill. So we're going to be using some limp dill today, and instead of the ½ teaspoon of the grains of paradise, we are going to be using, of course, black pepper, which we already have in there. We'll be grinding it up. They are effectively whole peppercorns still. There is a teaspoon of mustard powder in there, and there are 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to get a grinding with our pestle here, and I'm going to really have to grind these things because it's like... So we've only lost like 1 piece of pepper so far, which, you know, we can sacrifice that. But this is actually, surprisingly, a really nice aromatic mix. I'm getting a lot of different smells here. They smell good. You know, it's like a little bit of aniseedy, maybe. The pepper's nice as well. It's all good stuff, but you don't want to see me grinding all day long. Or maybe you do. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to do this for a little bit longer, and we're gonna get the spice mix prepared for our hand pies. So as you can see, the grinding is complete. We have our Storm Cloak seasoning. At this stage, we're going to be heading on over to the stovetop to go ahead and start to get our mince nice and browned. We're going to be adding in a whole heap of things. I'll guide you through the process while we're over there, and I can guarantee no wildfires. So to start off, we are going to be melting a tablespoon of butter in here. Once this is all nice and melted, we're going to go ahead and chuck in our garlic. And so the recipe calls for approximately 1 to 2 cloves of garlic minced. So we're going to be going ahead and just chucking in maybe 1.5 teaspoons of pre-minced garlic. Just an extra step we don't have to worry about. And then we're just going to be slowly but surely making sure that this gets mixed in with our butter until it is golden and fragrant. So next up, we're going to be chucking in 1/2 teaspoon of our Storm Cloak seasoning, just letting it be in there for a moment or two before we get our ground beef in and start browning that. There we go. So that is our 325 grams, in this case, of prime Angus beef mince. We're just going to get that mixed in, make sure that it gets nice and browned all over, and then we're going to bring that temperature down. Okay, so the next step, we're going to go ahead and just lower that temperature down real nice, low and slow. We're going to be chucking in our sour cream. We're looking for around about 1/2 cup's worth of sour cream. We're also going to go ahead and mix in some rice, but I'm just going to get this going first of all. So we're going to be chucking in a cup of our cooked white rice, getting that stirred and mixed in with everything that we got going on at the moment, just on that low heat still. Now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and just kill the heat altogether. We're going to mix in a little bit of cheese that we have grated earlier on here, and we're just going to go ahead, mix until that is nice and melted, and we're just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. It already has quite a bit of spice in there, so we want to make sure that we're not using actually too much, otherwise it's going to be, yeah, a lot to deal with. But that is our mixture said and done. So what we need to do now, after this cheese is fully melted and mixed in with everything here, we're going to let this cool for 10 minutes before we start to try and get that into our little pie casings. Right, so we have our pie mixture cooling in the background. The sweet rolls are now in the oven. The baked potatoes are chilling out somewhere, somehow. We're going to be jumping back into the sweet rolls. We're going to be working on the icing. So we're going to go ahead and grab over here. We have our powdered sugar. We have 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. We're going to go ahead and just dump that in there. We've got some cream cheese. We have, I think, let's see, 2 tablespoons of softened cream cheese, which we're going to go ahead and just dump on in there. Easy as. Then we're going to go ahead and grab some butter straight off of the softened block. We're going for a tablespoon of butter at this stage. That's maybe a little excessive. We'll go ahead and knock that down just a little bit there. And we'll go in butter. And after that, we need our heavy cream. So 1 second, 1 spoon. Right, so we're going to be holding off adding the cream until we've got everything mixed together. Slowly but surely, it's going to form into what will eventually be our icing. Right, so now we're going to be adding our thickened cream. We're going to start with just 1 tablespoon. It does call for 2, but you know, I'm learning. Maybe we want to be a little bit cautious when it comes to our bits and pieces that we're going to be adding into this. So we are just going to start with just the 1, and we are going to start to work that into our icing, which surprisingly enough is actually kind of coming together, and it's looking like the frosting that sweet rolls have. So we are going to be adding in 1 more tablespoon, but it's not going to be a full tablespoon, a little bit less than a tablespoon, because my tablespoons are larger than tablespoons. Just a little over 1/2 of an actual tablespoon. And we're just going to get to work on finishing that off. And that, voila, is our sweet roll frosting done and dusted. So we're just going to let this kind of chill until it barely runs off the spoon. It's a little thick for frosting. It's fine. It'll look great, and that's the main thing. So we are going to just let this sit here for the time being. Once these sweet rolls are nice and cool, we're going to go ahead, get them frosted, and then just let them chill out until all the other things are done. At this stage, we are going to jump into the creation of our little hand pies. We aren't going to be making pastry from scratch. We are using store-bought pastry because, you know, we've got magic. We've got magic here, and hey, the sweet rolls are done. I'm gonna be back in a second. We're gonna start putting those pies together. Everything's coming all at once. So our sweet rolls have been rescued from the oven. They're currently cooling down. The frosting is chilling off on the side. Once the sweet rolls are nice and cool, we're gonna go ahead and frost them up. But now we have to get our festival pies ready. They're kind of our main that we're using today. We do have in front of me here some store-bought pastry. We've cut it to effectively be around about 5 inches wide. My plan is to take roughly a spoonful of the mixture here. We're gonna plop it down right in this spot here. We're gonna flip it over and we're effectively going to massage a pie shape out of it. That's the plan. Whether it will work or not, I suppose we will see. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our first one here, and then we're gonna jump through time because with the magic of editing, that is possible. So I've put down a tablespoon. It's not quite enough yet, so we're gonna have to go for another tablespoon. And I feel like that is probably a good amount for us. It means that we're gonna have a little bit of a nice pie mound. So we're gonna go ahead and flip this over, those 2 tablespoons here. We're gonna start to press them down. We're probably gonna need maybe a little bit of egg just to stick things together. It does seem to be sticking relatively okay. What I'm gonna try and use here is like a rolling crimp method. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this out of the way for now, just so we can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on. I'm gonna start to just roll the pastry up and into itself. And that is going to give us our, our festival pie shape. What I'm gonna do after I've done this here, after we've kind of folded it over, I'm gonna go around with a fork just to kind of, press the pastry down so that we have something that resembles an attractive shape, a pie that you want to eat. That's what we're going for here. That's the goal of today. So I think what I've done, I've maybe come a little bit too far on this side here, which is a mistake, but we can fix those. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can shuffle things around a little bit more, and I'll show you eventually what I want this thing to look like. So we have our incredibly rustic festival pie. The last thing we're gonna do is just take a little bit of egg, just a tiny bit here, and we're just gonna brush down the top just so that we can kind of get a little bit of a golden glow over our pies. This is the first of many, so there is work to be done. Let's get to it. And so, after that process, we are all set and done. We have my magnificent, marvelous thing at the top here. We have this incredible creation by none other than Evie. And we have these 3 here that are done by Entnewt. So place your votes as to whom you think is gonna come out best. Now, we have made these a little bit larger than we were meant to, and I feel like it's still gonna work out fine. Cooking times might be slightly different, so we're just gonna cook them until they are done. At this stage, we're gonna go ahead and put these to the side, and we're gonna go on to the next step for our baked potatoes. Right, so we've got our baked potatoes. They are set and ready to go. We have a 1/4 cup of cheddar cheese. We have a 1/4 cup of whole milk, a pinch of salt, and in here we have 4 tablespoons of butter. So the first thing that we're going to do is slice our potatoes clean in half, and we can see that they are cooked really nicely. So something has kind of gone well today. That's something. And there we go. After we have them in half, we now have to very, very carefully scoop out the insides, put them into the bowl, keeping the skins intact. Magic spoon. So we kind of want to try and leave some of the potato on the outside still. So look at that. Okay, that's actually coming out relatively easy. Again, trying to be careful to only just take the potato itself, not take the skin away. We want to try and leave some of it intact. We're going to be dropping it into a bowl just on the side there. And the goal is to mash that all together. So we're going to go ahead and start speeding up time once again. So with a little bit of magic, we have our empty potato skins, soulless, hollow beings. No insides, no thoughts. And so those insides, they are currently here chilling out in the bowl. We're gonna go ahead, take our 1/4 cup of cheese, just like so, and we are going to take our milk, drop it on in there, and we're just gonna take a little bit of a spritz of our salt, just a pinch, and then we need to get a mashing, pretty much smashing this, combining it into one homogeneous being, which we will, oh, this sounds horrible. But the idea is to bring that all together so that we can fill this thing like a soul gem so that it can live again better than it was before. Sexy. So we have our homogeneous mass. We're going to use that homogeneous mass to fill up these potato skins one by one, just using a nice spoon. Get a good grip on that potato skin so that we don't lose it, and one by one we're just going to start to refill it. And we don't want to go over the top, you just want to try and go up until it is about full. And that's our little twice baked potato. Well, it hasn't been baked again yet, but it will be. I'm going to fill the rest of these up, we're going to chuck them in with the pies, and then we're pretty much ready to go. So we are finally here at the end of it all. Everything is done. We did it. And I didn't do this alone. I did it with the help of Entnewt and with Evie. We're going to be trying all these things one by one, but I just wanted to go through first of all and just show kind of how they turned out. So first of all, we have the Waters of Life, which, you know, it is meant to steep for 3 days. We are going to try it tonight, but then, you know, I'll try it 3 days later and see if there's any difference. But it's a lot of vodka and it's a lot of aniseedy flavors, so I think that's probably what we're going to end up with at the end of the day. Next up, we have our appetizers, the double baked potatoes. As you can see, these suckers turned out really, really well. There's an extra one out the back as well. I'm really excited to dig into these ones, which I'm going to in just a moment. But first of all, we're going to continue on to what is considered the main of this meal, and that is our hand pie things. So yes, we have our festival hand pies, and they actually turned out really well. At the front here, we do have Evie's and we have Entnewt's. At the back is mine. It's big, it's rustic, you know? I am excited to see how they taste. I'm thinking perfectly fine. And finally, we have our dessert. We had a disaster at the start, but I think it's come out okay. I've tasted just a tiny bit so far, so I'm going to be intrigued to see what it's going to taste like once we actually have the icing on here and everything. So we have our sweet rolls, and as you can see, with the icing on, they look like sweet rolls. It's everything you could expect them to be. The question is, what about the flavor? I don't know what they taste like in Skyrim, but I'm sure they're going to taste just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plate these up for each of us, and well, we'll see what it's going to taste like together. We're going to finish with the Water of Life, of course. So we are dished up. We are ready to try these things. This is my last time on camera. It's been fun. It's been a good ride. But we'll make it through this. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm insinuating that maybe something terrible could happen here. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. So first of all, I'm gonna start off with the appetizer, probably best eaten with a fork, but we're in Skyrim. There are no forks. So we're just gonna eat this baked potato like a champion that we are, the Dovahkiin. It's good. I could use maybe 3 times the amount of cheese. That would be the change that I kind of make to it. Cream might be better than just like whole milk. But beyond that, it's pretty good. Could use a little bit of extra salt, but as far as double baked potatoes go, not half bad. Could be a little bit crispier. Onto the main, the festival pies. And as you can see, mine is, as I said before, rustic. Very rustic. So we're gonna give this a try. Attack it from an angle that makes sense. That's actually really, really good. It's like not overly crispy. I would like it to be crispier, like any of the others, but it's good. Like the flavor is there, and I'm kind of surprised considering we did use the Cloak seasoning. There isn't as much flavor as I thought there would be from those. Like I was a little nervous in putting in too much salt and pepper because I thought it would kind of override. I'm not really getting the spices, I'm getting meat and rice, which I like. So if you like meat and rice, good. If you want a little bit more, I'd suggest maybe adding more of the spice mix in there or just going for more pepper and salt in general. Finally, onto the dessert. This is what I've been most looking forward to because we had a ride to get here. We have our sweet roll. No one is going to steal this, no one. But we're gonna try it, and I'm gonna try and not get my face covered in frosting, but It's delicious. It is so good. And the frosting just completes it. I tried a little bit of it without the frosting on. I'm gonna try not to spit food as much as I can. And it was just like a very nice semi-sweet bread because there's no sugar mixed into it. There's just the honey, so it isn't aggressively sweet. Even with this amount of frosting on, it isn't that sweet. So it's kind of really, really nice. I like it a lot. I'm stoked. And so, well, we've arrived at the time where we need to say farewell. And of course we have the very first thing that we made today, this delectable mixture, the water of life. To life then, I say. Entnut, Evie.
Smells like vodka.
Smells like vodka, bottoms up, bottoms up.
Oh, that's disgusting.
You know what? That's good.
That is good.
That is good.
Sure.
It's like,
It
it's,
definitely burns.
it burns as vodka would. But honestly, just sipping that, not shotting it,
Yeah, don't do that.
would probably be fine. The dill is really nice, works really well with the juniper berries. In general, I'm not a massive fan of juniper because I don't like gin that much. Surprisingly enough, this used to be a gin bottle, which probably helps with the flavor, but it's really good. And when we poured it out before, we could actually see that there was a color difference. So even though this has just been steeping for, what, like 4 or 5 hours, it still made a big difference. So if you did the full brew of this and you had it going for 3 days, you would really notice a difference. And I'm surprised by how much I like it. Whether or not I leave this for 3 days or if it's been a long day, so maybe we won't leave it for 3 days, but I want to thank you all for joining me today, for being a part of this weird experiment. I wanted to be able to celebrate the anniversary of Skyrim. 10 years as a long time, and well, I am happy that I've been able to tell some pretty significant stories in the game. Thank you to Bethesda for sending the care package. It was more than I could have ever expected to receive. Thank you, all of you who still watch my Skyrim videos. We're still playing Skyrim 10 years onwards, and who knows, it's going to be a long time after that. Even when The Elder Scrolls 6 eventually arrives, I think there will be many of us still playing Skyrim. So, I bid you farewell for now. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride. The water of life is just starting to touch my brain, so I feel like it's probably a good time for me to sign off now before I say something that I regret. Thank you all for joining me. For now, I have been Rycon. You have all been awesome. And until next time, stay tuned.